Thank you all for being here today, and a warm welcome to all of you, old friends, new friends, many Vertexians, and let me extend a special welcome to some of our elected officials who've also joined us today. Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey. Massachusetts State Representative David Beal. And the Mayor of Boston, Michelle Wu. I also want to acknowledge the Vertex Board of Directors here today in the front row, as well as Dr. Leiden's family. Welcome. And very, very importantly, a big shout out to all Vertexians back in there. We see you. A little over 2 years ago, many of you were gathered here with us to celebrate the opening of this building behind me. And we said at that time that in true Vertexian fashion, one was just not good enough, and we would be building a campus. And here we are 2 years later, and we're ready to do just that. Just 8 years ago, Vertex moved our headquarters to the Seaport. And with that, we revitalized this area. A couple of years after that headquarters move, we opened up a manufacturing facility just down the block. And now we are ready to open this second spectacular building. It's going to be right over there, and it's going to be connected by a pedestrian bridge. And with this new building, we will occupy almost 2 million feet right here in Boston, right here in the Seaport, and we just renewed our lease at Fan Pier through 2044. Make no mistake, Vertex is doubling down on Massachusetts and on Boston. Our commitment and this incredible building coming up are thanks to the extraordinary support of visionary contributors, many of whom are here today, and I'd like to start by thanking some of them. First, thank you, Governor Healey. You have been steadfast in your commitment to the life sciences industry and for your team's unwavering support for Boston's biotech and innovation ecosystem. We are proud to be on Team Massachusetts. Next, thank you to Mayor Michelle Wu. Mayor Wu has been a great leader for the city, and her team has been indispensable as we have expanded our footprint. Boston supports Vertex, and that's why Vertex is so keen on supporting Boston. We have a long and enduring commitment to STEAM education. Many young Boston Public High School students have come through our doors and interned with us through our paid summer internships. And I'm confident, and boy do I look forward to the day they come back to this building behind me and in the future to the building in front of me and work right here at Vertex, right here in Boston. I also want to thank Bruce Beal, Kimberly Sherman-Stamler, and the entire crew at Related Beal, our world-class development partners. You have been extraordinary in building these state-of-the-art facilities. Medicine, we say, is a discipline built on teamwork, and we just couldn't be prouder than having you on Team Vertex. Thank you. And lastly, I'd like to thank Stephanie Shaheen. Stephanie is a tireless advocate for patients with type 1 diabetes. One could say that standing up for what you believe in and fighting for what's right runs in Stephanie's family. Stephanie's mom is Senator Jean Shaheen. Stephanie is the mother herself to a daughter with type 1 diabetes. She is a New York Times bestseller. She is the founder of Good Measures, an organization dedicated to good health outcomes. And Stephanie is a friend of Vertex. Thank you for being here, Stephanie. I didn't have this in my prepared remarks because I didn't know we would have the pleasure of Ellie Shaheen. Ellie is the daughter with type 1 diabetes for whom Stephanie fights so hard. Ellie, welcome to Vertex. And finally, I want to thank my predecessor, Dr. Jeffrey Leiden, for whom these buildings are named. Jeff is a visionary leader. I think of Jeff as the founding CEO of present-day Vertex. Jeff and the then executive team, many of whom are still here today, laid the path for the programs unfolding in these buildings. I had a front row seat to some of that history, first as a Vertex employee and then as Jeff's successor. I saw firsthand the remarkable risks Jeff was willing to take to deliver transformative medicines for patients. I know the sheer determination by which he moved forward. The work he did was bigger than himself and bigger than any of us. Today, I want to share a little of the history and the future of these incredible buildings with you. When Jeff arrived at Vertex, it was more than a company at an inflection point. It had extraordinary science. It had wonderful scientists. It was big enough to make an impact, yet small enough to change. And from this, Jeff created a strategy that defined decades of accepted wisdom. He turned the conventional biotech business model on its head. He built an expectation within the company of serial innovation. He established transformative, if not curative medicines as the norm. And he championed a modality-agnostic approach. As the chief medical officer, I was on the receiving end of many of Jeff's relentless asks. To drive, to advance our cystic fibrosis medicine Trikafta faster than any medicine of its time. Jeff knew patients were waiting. The same was true with the CRISPR-based therapy for sickle cell disease and beta thalassemia. And today, that potential medicine is Casgevy, a medicine that is changing people's lives, a medicine that we developed with our partners at CRISPR Therapeutics. Sam, it's good to see you here, and thank you for your partnership. Jeff was also the force behind the acquisition of another potentially curative therapy in type 1 diabetes, so-called VX-880. This medicine is still in clinical trials, but shows enormous promise. As CEO, Jeff led the company to these enormous advancements, which seemed like pipe dreams, if not just plain impossible. These advancements are at the core of who we are and who we aspire to be. A serial innovator, a company looking to make transformative medicines for patients, and a company that will stand the test of time. At Vertex, we intend to be, we aspire to be a generational company. A generational company is not here today, gone tomorrow. A generational company invents, delivers, and develops solutions for fundamental needs. It not only cracks open the specific problem, but it cracks open an entirely new way of thinking and a whole potential of advancements. Our world today is moving at lightning speed, and the speed of innovation is moving faster than that. And as a result, there aren't many generational companies left standing. But at Vertex, we're going against the grain. And I am inspired by some of the oldest companies in the world. I want to give you 3 examples. Work with me on these. In Salzburg, Austria, there is a fully functioning restaurant called St. Peter Stift's Culinarium. This restaurant was founded in 803 AD. And far from being a relic of history, it is still functional today and continues to serve traditional Austrian meals to people in Salzburg. Let me give you another example. This one is a company in Great Britain. It's actually one of the oldest businesses in the UK. It's the Royal Mint. The Royal Mint was founded in 886 AD. It's overseeing the production of countless coins for over 1 millennium. Sir Isaac Newton himself worked there at one point. And today, it continues to make coins. It actually makes luxury jewelry as well. And now it's making it from waste products, electronic waste products like laptops and cell phones. Final company, Congo Gumi, 878 AD. It's been in existence for 1,400 years. It came into existence to build and repair Buddhist temples. Today, it continues to build and repair Buddhist temples. How do these companies pertain to Vertex? Like those companies, we strive to solve important real-world problems. For us, the challenges pertain to human healthcare. We aim to make the biggest breakthroughs with the most life-changing and durable impact. And our commitment to serial innovation is our pledge to the long vision our work requires. In the pursuit to be this generational company, we are lucky to have the best employees. A big shout out again to the Vertexians in the back. The best partners, the best city, and the best state along for the journey. Today we're building the best home for that work, for Vertex's long future. I can't thank each and every one of you enough for being here to help us celebrate our new building. And now, let me turn the podium over to Dr. Jeff Leiden, my friend, predecessor, and boss.
Now, as all of you saw, we all know who the boss really is. Thank you so much, Reshma, for that very, very kind introduction. It's a tremendous honor and great privilege for me to be here today with all of you to celebrate this extraordinary new building and the work, more importantly, that's going to unfold here. I also want to start by thanking several people and groups in particular. First, Reshma. A CEO's single most important job is to identify his or her successor and help mentor them to success. Reshma, over the last 4 years, you have led Vertex with tremendous vision, courage, and continuity. I simply couldn't imagine a better successor. I'm so proud and pleased to watch you in your continued success. Thank you, Governor Healey, for your friendship and for your long-term support of our innovation economy in general and, of course, in Vertex in particular. You are a long-time, enduring champion of both medical innovation and biotech in our great Commonwealth, as Reshma said, and I am so pleased to count you as a long-term supporter and friend. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Wu. As Reshma said, Boston is Vertex's home forever. With this expansion, we will occupy nearly 2 million square feet of space in the Seaport alone in 5 different facilities. These 2 Leiden centers will employ more than 1,000 physicians and scientists working towards new cures, and none of that would have been possible without your support. Thank you so much. Thank you, Stephanie Shaheen, for your tireless advocacy for patients with type 1 diabetes. I promise you personally that together we will cure this devastating disease. I want to thank the Vertex Board of Directors for their continuous support over more than 15 years in the ups and downs of the biotech industry. And particularly, I want to thank our Vertex team, both our employees and our executive committee seated here in the second row, who have worked so closely for so long, for many, many years, with me and Reshma on our journey of scientific and medical innovation. You are the reasons, you and your innovative science actually are the reasons that we're here today. And these buildings are a testament to your accomplishments, past, but more importantly, future as well. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to work. Now, today's wonderful ceremony was organized by two very special people, Stacia McNaught and Marissa Jarvis. There. I have had the great privilege and pleasure of working with both of them for more than a decade. Thank you so much for your tireless efforts and for making today such a spectacular success. Finally, I also want to acknowledge my wonderful family. My wife, Lisa, my son, Alex, my daughter-in-law, Mary, and my other son, Ben, who are here to celebrate with us today. You have supported me and many of my goofy career decisions over many years, and none of my successes would have been possible without your love and support. Thank you. So I'm often asked about Vertex's secret sauce. What is it that makes us so different, so successful over so many years? For one thing, I think our culture prizes openness, debate, and scientific rigor. Our teamwork and our long-standing commitment to diversity lead us to make the best decisions for our patients and for our business. In terms of science, I often point to three different factors. Reshma mentioned some of these. First, we work only on validated targets and only to make transformational drugs for serious diseases. Second, we've dedicated our work to serial innovation, which you mentioned, over many years. The building's going up. We never stop innovating after the first medicine is approved for a given disease. We continue to invest for years to make better and better medicines for patients with a disease, be it cystic fibrosis or pain or sickle cell disease. And we just don't stop until we have the best medicine for all patients. And third, we develop innovative preclinical and clinical biomarkers that accurately predict our future clinical development results. And I see Carmen nodding there. For example, chloride transport and sweat chloride in the case of CF. And yet there's an underappreciated fourth factor, which I think or believe guides Vertex's work every day, and it makes us really special. And if you'll indulge me for just a few minutes this afternoon, it's that fourth factor that I'd like to talk about. And we've talked about it a lot less, I think. I would say it this way. At Vertex, we use scientific innovation not only to create transformative drugs for individual patients or for individual diseases, but we try to create drugs that change the course of biomedical therapeutics in fundamental ways. So to better describe this concept, I'd like to borrow an idea from the statistician Nate Silver's recent book, On the Edge. And in speaking about innovation in the tech world of Silicon Valley, Silver invents a concept he calls the technological Richter scale. So as many of you may know, Charles Richter was a very famous physicist who created the Richter scale in 1935 to quantify the energy that's released by earthquakes from 1 to 10, representing mild to catastrophic quakes. And Silver adapts this Richter scale concept to technology innovation. He calls it the technological Richter scale. On the low end of the scale, he scores new technologies that are significant enough to be patented, things like a Post-it note or a VCR. Move up the scale, and both the social impact increases exponentially, the frequency actually decreases exponentially. So scores 4 through 7 include inventions like credit cards, social media, the internet, and the automobile, with much greater impact. At the very top of the scale are world and life-changing inventions, like the wheel, fire, the printing press, and perhaps one day soon, artificial intelligence. So in that spirit, I'd like to propose today the medical innovation Richter scale, which I'll call the MIRS. So on the low end of the MIRS, scores 1 through 4, we could place biomedical interventions that improve patients' lives sort of modestly. Things like combining 2 medicines into a single pill, or taking a 3 times a day medicine and turning it into a once a day medicine. And these innovations make it easier for patients to take their medicines both conveniently and compliantly. In the middle of the scale, let's say from 5 to 7, we can place entirely new classes of medicines that dramatically improve the treatment of a given disease and thereby dramatically improve the lives of millions of patients. For example, proton pump inhibitors, which revolutionize the treatment of peptic ulcer disease. They might be a 5, let's say. The human papillomavirus vaccine that prevents cervical cancer, certainly a 6 or a 7. But then we come to the high end of the medical innovation scale, the 8s to 10s. These are world-changing medical discoveries that simultaneously alter the treatment of multiple diseases or change entire areas of medicine, like the discovery of antibiotics, for example, which prevented people from dying from many different infections, and the discovery and development of anesthesia, which enabled the entire field of modern surgery. A good recent example might be the mRNA COVID vaccines, which suggest a whole new way that we can protect people against many different infectious agents. So to put it most simply, at Vertex we work entirely at the high end of the medical innovation Richter scale, the 8s to 10s. We try to solve really difficult problems that have the potential to change not only patients' lives, but the future of medicine and medical therapeutics. Let me give you 2 recent examples that I think are directly relevant to today's building dedication. And Reshma mentioned these. I'll start by talking about how Vertex, in collaboration with our partner CRISPR Therapeutics and their CEO Sam, I remember when we first met back in 2015, developed the first human gene editing therapy, and we used it to cure sickle cell disease and beta thalassemia. Now it's really interesting. Since 1948, we've actually known the underlying cause of sickle cell disease, a single mutation in the beta globin gene. And yet for more than 70 years, there wasn't an effective therapy for this really devastating disease. In 2012, Jennifer Doudna and Emmanuel Charpentier discovered a new way that you could actually edit human genes called CRISPR-Cas9, and that's a discovery, as you know, that won them the Nobel Prize in 2020. And while this discovery held the promise of a new therapeutic modality, I think it's fair to say most people predicted that it would be decades before this revolutionary technology had widespread application to human disease. By working with Sam and our colleagues at CRISPR, Vertex found a way in just 7 years. Using CRISPR, we made a single precise cut in the genome of a patient's hematopoietic stem cells, and we then administered those cells back to the patient by simple IV infusion. And the results were nothing short of remarkable. More than 90% of the patients were cured following a single infusion of those edited stem cells. So you might ask, well, why is that so remarkable? It's remarkable because, as David will tell you, there are more than 3.1 billion base pairs in the human genome of every cell in your body. And we were able to use CRISPR sort of like a guided missile to go in and find the single critical base pair and edit it out of 3.1 billion. And with that clinical trial, we not only produced a new cure for sickle cell disease and beta thalassemia, we actually opened up a whole new world of medical possibilities, a world in which we'll be able to accurately and precisely alter the human genome to cure a wide variety of human diseases. The second brief example of an 8 to 10 discovery involves our recent work on a regenerative medicine approach to cure type 1 diabetes, Stephanie, in which a patient's own immune system destroys her pancreatic beta cells, leading to a life-threatening shortage of insulin and repeated hyperglycemic and hypoglycemic episodes. Again, we've known for many years that beta cells from a cadaver could be transplanted into the livers of diabetic patients to potentially cure their disease. But the problem was there aren't nearly enough cadaveric islet cells or beta cells to treat the more than 1 million patients with type 1 diabetes in the US alone. Now, during the last 20 years, Doug Melton's lab, Doug's sitting over there, at Harvard had been working on an ambitious project to make human islet cells out of undifferentiated human embryonic stem cells. And in 2019, and I still remember that day, Doug, when you came over to show us, SEMA successfully accomplished that goal. They produced the first vial of stem cell-derived beta cells in the laboratory. And I think 2 months later, Doug, in December of 2019, Vertex bought SEMA. That's how excited we were about it. And then we set about figuring out how to make those beta cells into a drug. Again, I think most people predicted it would be at least a decade before we could even begin human clinical trials. But yet again, in typical Vertex fashion, as you mentioned, Reshma, we were able to produce the first drug and treat patients in less than 3 years. Earlier this year, we reported that we've now treated 12 patients with a single infusion of stem cell-derived islet cells, and 4 of them have reached the 1-year follow-up period. And once again, remarkably, 100%, 4 out of 4 of those patients no longer require insulin and no longer have any severe hypoglycemic episodes. They are functionally cured of their diabetes after that single infusion. So this discovery obviously has profound implications for the millions of type 1 diabetic patients around the world. But once again, its implications, I think, are much broader because it suggests that we may be able to use human stem cells to regenerate many different tissues in the body, a completely new approach to curing organ failure in a wide variety of disorders. So at Vertex, we're making discoveries that change the course of medicine, that actually change the paradigm of how we treat patients and entire disease areas. We're aiming for the 8 to 10s on the medical innovation Richter scale. So you might ask, how does that in any way relate to these 2 buildings, our new building going up? But I think it's really quite simple. We built these buildings to create more 8 to 10 discoveries. Not only will we make stem cells into islets to cure type 1 diabetes, we will actually create novel gene and cell therapies that allow us to cure more previously untreatable diseases. Diseases like Duchenne muscular dystrophy, myotonic dystrophy, and even CF. Here we're aiming for discoveries that not only treat new patients, but actually open up whole new fields of medical therapy. As I've said many times before, I'm sure Reshma is sick of hearing me say this, at Vertex we go to work every day to turn dreams into new medicines. Medicines that make a reality out of the transformative potential of this extraordinary age of science and technology that we're all fortunate to live in. That's why it's so exciting to be here today with this phenomenal team who will use this new building to transform patients' lives. I personally can't wait to see what they do. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you for everything that you've done for Vertex and for the words today. It is now my distinct pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Mayor Michelle Wu. Mayor, thank you again for your leadership, for being here today, and for your support of our expansion through the Seaport.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Reshma, for all that you do and all that you represent in our city. I'm so delighted and honored to be here with this incredible collection of leaders from across the Commonwealth and beyond. Very, very honored always to appear alongside our amazing governor, the best possible partner that any mayor could dream of. And so thank you, Governor Healey, and to all your team members who are here from your cabinet and beyond. Thank you to Rep. Beal, to all of our distinguished public servants, and I want to especially thank my team who have been very proud to help in the ways that you touch city government and the permitting processes to be able to get us to this day as well. Thank you to our Chief of Economic Opportunity and Inclusion, Shagun Idowu, who's in the House, our Chief of Policy and Strategy, Mike Firestone, our Chief of Planning, who's on his very first official day back at the city, Kairos Shen, to Deputy Devin Quirk, Director Rashad Cope, Senior Advisor Stephen Chan, Deputy Diana Fernandez-Bibo. You see that we are all in when it comes to making sure that across the permitting facets, across the partnerships with education, workforce development, we are going to stand strong with the very foundation and the talent that Boston represents, and you all are a pillar of that. Thank you, Stephanie, for your advocacy and for always putting the stories of real people behind the groundbreaking innovations that are dreams and being made possible every day. And of course, to our hosts today at Vertex, thank you for everything that you do for our city. To Jeff and Reshma, the entire board, the whole team, your commitment to Boston is truly incredible, and you have reshaped our city over a very, very consequential time, and we know that there's even more to come. This, just by looking around, is an amazing representation of the impact that you all have had. Not only are we gathered here with elected officials and leading scientific talent from around the world in your workforce and in academia, we also have key leaders when it comes to workforce development, public education, the arts, and every bit of your roots reaching into our community. Thanks to your leadership and collaboration, this city is where President Biden launched his cancer moonshot. This region, I'll say, Count Cambridge, is where the federal government put its new ARPA-H hub and where the entire world looks for the next innovations in human health. The incredible growth of this neighborhood is a testament to your vision and your commitment. And your work here has given the world some of our greatest medical breakthroughs, targeting cystic fibrosis at its root, the first FDA approval of CRISPR gene editing therapy, and evolutions that transform how the world manages pain, to name just a few. We are so grateful for the deeply intentional work you've done to make Boston your home, to make this city the global center of the life sciences industry, and to strengthen that position in the face of fierce competition as an outstanding partner for our city and our region. As a powerhouse public company, scientific innovator, medical lifesaver, as an employer, builder, philanthropist, and civic leader, Vertex is our partner, and we are proud to be yours. I have joined Reshma and dozens of colleagues, Vertexians, as they took a day out of their busy lives to help rebuild a community center in Mattapan. I've met Boston Public School students whose lives were changed through a summer job at Vertex. Each year, you welcome thousands of the next generation of talent from our schools to your Menino Learning Lab. And you've been the leading partner in our city's initiative with great state support to create 1,000 jobs in the life sciences for Boston residents immediately. There isn't enough time today to discuss the countless ways in which Vertex has been helping to make Boston a home for everyone. But the point is clear. Whether in scientific breakthroughs or civic impact, Vertex is a leading light in our city. And I often share with leaders from around the world when they visit Boston. We have a steady stream of different city delegations coming to learn about life sciences and biotech that I'm sure flowing through your doors as well. I tell them when they visit Boston that our strength, our DNA, or maybe our mRNA, I'll leave to the Vertexians to tell me which one, is that this is a city where people come to do good. Our homegrown talent and talent from around the world come here to develop and deliver the big ideas that change the world. Today, we are building the next iconic place in Boston where revolutionary ideas will be born, where big ideas are made real. That's a legacy that extends from Faneuil Hall and the Ether Dome to today's groundbreaking for the Leiden Center for Biologics, Cell, and Genetic Therapies. Today isn't just about putting shovels in the ground. It's about a commitment to continue leading the charge when it comes to tackling our toughest challenges in healthcare and medicine, to create more jobs and opportunities for the city and region, and to be that light for families who may not have the treatment they need today, but who know that in Boston Seaport, the world's brightest minds are working hard to get them that answer. That is the promise of the new Leiden Center, and I can't wait to be back here for the ribbon cutting with all of you. Thank you so much. Congratulations.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. I know that applause was for Mayor Wu, not me. And I'm sure we're going to get another round of applause for our next speaker. Let me introduce Governor Maura Healey. Thank you again for all that you do for the Massachusetts innovation ecosystem.
Good morning. Good morning, and it's awesome to be able to be here to celebrate this incredible happening and a continuation of so much innovation. And I just want to begin by thanking Vertex. Thank you, Reshma. You're such an incredible leader. I always love listening to you, and I see her around the country on a lot of stages, and she is so compelling, and so many people look to you for your leadership. And to Jeff, thank you for being such a great friend. You know, years ago, when I was thinking about public office and continuing on with it, I had a lot of conversations with Jeff, and he really helped school me on the importance of innovation, of our life sciences work, on what that has yielded and will continue to yield if we make the proper investments and provide the proper support. So it's always wonderful to be with you, Jeff, and your family here, how proud they all are of everything that you've helped make possible in this wonderful, wonderful center. And to the Vertexians, all right, you guys together, you are making, and Bruce Beal, thank you for building this thing, because through the work of all of you, Massachusetts is now going to be the home to the biggest biotech firm in the world by square footage. I do fact check. That's a big deal. It's a really big deal. So feel great about that, and I think it's only appropriate because we are the global hub for life sciences, and we're committed to continuing to invest in and lengthen that lead. Great to be here, as always, with Mayor Wu. We did a recent ribbon cutting just over the way. It speaks to the vibrancy and all that this mayor is trying to push forward in this great capital city of ours, and thank you to her and her team for their partnership on so much. To Raphael, thank you for continuing to fund things, and I know we're going to get that economic development bill over the line. We are, because it's very, very important to our state. Thank you to Stephanie Shaheen, too, for your leadership and for just telling a story about the importance, putting a face on, and Ellie, your face literally. Thank you for being here today, but more importantly, thank you for all the advocacy that you've done over the years on this incredibly important endeavor. I'll say a couple of things. We also have folks from the neighborhood. They didn't bring a casserole to welcome the new neighbor, but the folks from Boston Sword and Fish, right? Talk about teamwork. An important industry here, ever evolving, our fishing industry. Good to have you guys in the house as well. I thought that was pretty cool. Speaking of team, I just want to say how grateful I am to the folks in our administration. I want to recognize our great Secretary of Health and Human Services, Kate Walsh, who's focused on the strength and the accessibility of our healthcare system. You know her well. Thank you for saving the Stewart hospitals too, Kate. God bless you. Our great Secretary of Education, Pat Tutwiler. I have him stand, but you can see him, the big guy. He's really focused on the STEM opportunities. And Jeff was just telling me about some of those students who I was here touring years ago, where those young women were in the lab, and you've now just hired some of them, which is awesome. We want to be a team that supports that kind of educational experience. We are also focused on labor and workforce development, and bring regards from Lauren Jones, who's working on preparing and connecting 21st century workers with 21st century opportunities. And our Secretary of Economic Development, you know her well, Yvonne Howe is here today, making sure that everybody has their Team Massachusetts bracelet. We thank you for your great work, Yvonne. I'm also thrilled to recognize somebody who's important to all of us, and that is the next leader of the Mass Life Sciences Center, Kirk Taylor, who's joined our team. So Vertex and the Vertexians, I hadn't heard that before. Vertexians, you are so important to all of us here in Massachusetts, and I am grateful that you choose to spend your time and your talents and your energies right here in Massachusetts, helping to do such incredibly good things and world-changing things. And so I just want to say thank you for the job that you do every day. We are focused on it as a team on making life better for you. With huge investments in transportation infrastructure, I'm not kidding you, and also building more housing in the state, right? Because we all want you to be able to afford to live here, especially if you choose to have children or grandchildren. So we're working on that. But to you, Vertex, thank you for being not just a partner to the city and the state, but such a leader as we talk about the innovation economy, not just here in Massachusetts, but around the globe. Look, and we're proud about Massachusetts. We're number one in healthcare. We're number one in education. We're number one state for innovation. We're number one state for life sciences. We were also voted the number one state to have a baby in and to live and raise a family, which, means something because it speaks to hope. It speaks to aspiration. innovation. In a world where there are declining birth rates, it's really great to be in the state where people actually want to come and live and grow families. And you guys are what helps give people that feeling of hope and that feeling of possibility. So I want to thank you because you are so central to who we are as a state. To the doctors, to the nurses, to the clinicians and researchers in our hospitals, to the scientists in our labs, the students coming in and out of our colleges with world-class educations, and not for nothing, how about those 4 Nobel laureates, right? I mean, Massachusetts, we pack a little bit of punch, right? 50% of the Nobel laureates out of here. Amazing, okay? And it speaks to this ecosystem that Vertex is a part of. The innovators, the investors, the talent, the workforce. You know, and I'm just so grateful to Vertex for its leadership in this space. Developing, imagining, visioning the 8 to 10s, you know, and all that's going to be possible in changing the trajectory of people's lives and in changing the trajectory of science. And as you grow, Massachusetts grows. So I'm here selfishly to offer unyielding support and commitment to all the work that you do. In fact, today we're announcing that we're awarding new tax incentives totaling $21 million to 19 life sciences companies who've committed to creating nearly 1,200 new jobs in Massachusetts. Vertex alone has pledged to create another 300 of those jobs. So we thank you for that. Thank you very much for all that you do. We believe in science in Massachusetts. We respect and revere science in Massachusetts, and we are committed to leading in science around the world. Thank you to Vertex, and best wishes in all that is good and all that is to come.
Thank you. Oh, thank you.
And now, on to our last speaker, Stephanie Shaheen. She is an extraordinary advocate, writer, and community leader, and I am so grateful that you're here to join us for this celebration.
Thank you so much, Reshma. Good morning, everybody. I'm so honored to be here for this momentous occasion. It truly is a momentous occasion for me and for my family and for my daughter, Ellie, who is, fortunately for me, gets to be here today. I just need you to stand up because I want everybody to see your beautiful face. Stand up, stand up. Now, it's important for you all to have a face and a name and a story because I know how hard this work is. I know how hard it is because we've been at this 17 years, which is a fraction of the time Doug Melton has been at this work, and I know it's hard. And so I'm here today because I want to give you a story and I want to give you faces and names so that when you need a little extra motivation for that work late at night or that early morning you're coming in or the extra effort it's going to take to get this building built, you think of our story among the millions of others like us, and it gives you a little bit more motivation. And so first, I am honored to be among this incredible transformational group of leaders. I mean, look at this row of women leaders. It's so exciting and inspiring. And Jeff Leiden and his family who helped orchestrate this group of leaders. Well, you helped make it happen, and truthfully, a sincere thanks to the leadership of Vertex and to the board for assembling this inspiring group of people to do the work that it's going to take to cure type 1 diabetes. And I'm here today in part because when I first met Reshma, she grabbed me by the hands and she said, I can assure you, in the same way that Jeff did just a few minutes ago, that we have thousands of people who go to bed every night thinking about how we're going to cure this disease and wake up every morning working to do it. And I believe it wholeheartedly, and I can't tell you what that means to families like ours. It gives us hope. And we need hope because type 1 diabetes is a relentless disease. And in terms of the medical innovation Richter scale, we've watched for 17 years innovation and progress in the 1 to 4 or 5 range, right? Ellie now has the benefit of a closed-loop system. She can monitor blood sugars. I can see her blood sugars from my phone, which really matters because she lives with hypoglycemia unawareness, which means if she falls asleep at night and has a low blood sugar, she may not wake up. So her blood sugar data is synced to my phone, which alarms in the middle of the night. And she happens to normally live in California. So if she's not waking up, I am her safety net. And so even with that innovation in those 1 to 4 or 5 range, we've got great technology. She has a closed loop system, she wears a continuous glucose monitor, she wears an insulin pump, and still we go to bed every night with the threat that she may not wake up. That's the reality of what it looks like to live with type 1 diabetes. When she was first diagnosed 17 years ago, and when you talk about innovations from AD, in our life AD was after diabetes or after diagnosis. When she was first diagnosed 17 years ago, we enrolled in a clinical trial. And I said to the doctor who was leading that trial, who shares our sense of urgency about what it's going to take to cure this disease? And he said, Dr. Doug Melton, let me connect the two of you. And from that moment, I remember reaching out to him by email, and I'm thinking, this fancy Harvard professor is going to respond to this mom who's just been diagnosed, has a daughter just diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, and he did. And it's fostered a connection and a sense of hope in me every day since. He is the reason, in large part, so many of us are assembled here today. His vision, his commitment, his dedication is what is ultimately going to lead to us curing this disease. So, honestly, I cannot thank you enough. It's important that you understand from our perspective as a family just how hard it is every day to live with the relentless nature of type 1 diabetes. In 17 years, I have not gone to bed not thinking about what is her blood sugar. Is she going to be safe through the night? Is she okay? And the first thing I think about when I wake up, at least 2 or 3 times in the middle of the night, is what's her blood sugar? Is she okay? Is she safe? A beta cell curative therapy will change her life. It will change our lives. It'll change the millions of people living with type 1 diabetes. And I cannot thank you all enough for having the courage, the vision, the stamina to do the work that you're going to do in this building right here over the next few years. And we will be there cheering you on every step of the way. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
And now, we're going to count down from 3 for those of you who are going to help us with the banner. And now, it is my honor to announce the official unveiling of the Jeffrey Leiden Center for Biologics, Cell, and Genetic Therapies. 3, 2, 1, let it rip. Governor Healey, Mayor Wu, Stephanie, thank you for being here today. Guests, Vertexians, please feel free to come into the cafeteria, enjoy some candied apples, some warm cider, and each other's company. Again, a deep, deep thank you to each and every one of you for supporting us along the way and for celebrating with us today. Thank you all.